All right, I'm here to talk a little bit about surf metal. What is that? Is it a thing? How does it work? Well, I've been basically a metal guitar player for years and years. Never really listened to surf rock music that much or studied it that much. And most of my stuff is more metal based. I have a project called Soul Proof Door, just kind of instrumental, progressive metal. And one day I wrote a song that didn't sound really like a metal song, it sounded like a surf rock song. It's called Rough Surf, and we'll look into that in just a second here. But I was very surprised to see how easily it was to kind of write all the pieces to this. It just kind of fell together. And after writing a lot of other songs in that style, I began to sort of create what seemed to be my own style. I eventually called it Echo Shores, is the name of the project. I eventually realized that the reason it felt so familiar to me is that, as I discovered, there's a shared DNA between a lot of rock music in general, but especially I found between surf rock and heavy metal, there's a lot of similar components. If you were to do a Venn diagram, such as this one here, you'll see, as I discovered, there are a lot of sort of elements that are in both types of music. So, of course, they're both very guitar-based. They tend to be very fast-paced tempo. Not necessarily all surf songs are, not necessarily all metal songs are as fast-paced, but often they are. And they tend to be in minor keys. That is very common. Almost every metal song is in a minor key. And in fact, many surf songs are too, especially if you're looking at the Dick Dale catalog and stuff. There's a lot of stuff written in minor keys. Your A minor. That's A minor, the Shadows, that song there, Apache. And of course, like in a lot of metal songs are written in minor keys, and gives them that kind of heavy, moody kind of sound. Both styles often use, along with the minor keys, they use a harmonic minor scale. And of course, that's very common in work of like Dick Dale. And you look at the work of Ritchie Blackmore, and of course Yngwie Malmsteen and Randy Rhoads and those guys use harmonic minor all the time. You look at the early Blackmore stuff, the stuff he did with Rainbow. Both styles include or incorporate a lot of chromatics, where you just move straight down the scale, all half steps, you know. You see that, I mean, you know, Megadeth. And you look at the stuff like the song, of course, famous song by the Dead Kennedys, incorporates that. So that's an interesting thing. The Dead Kennedys, I believe they may have been the first surf metal band, although they were a punk band, but they incorporated the heavy sound of metal, and they incorporated a lot of that surf guitar sound and some of these concepts, the chromatic lines, and of course harmonic minor, all that. Interesting that Dave Mustaine is a big fan of the Dead Kennedys, and Dave Mustaine is one of the architects, of course, of speed metal, thrash metal. Is that a coincidence? I don't necessarily think so. Also, both styles use a lot of single note runs rather than just relying on full chords. Of course, there's chords going on behind that. Your second guitar player could be doing that, you know. But you'll hear that in a lot of metal stuff too, you know. You know, Iron Maiden uses a lot of single note runs, and since they have two guitar players and a bass player all doing that too, it's a full sound. You can see Iron Maiden, I mean, they're proving my point right here, you know. You got Eddie, he's surfing on the shark, you know. I mean, what could be more surf metal than that? That leads to in the lead stuff, a lot of tremolo picking or fan picking, you know. A lot of surf guitar leads, you're using that. And of course, you know, you hear that all through a lot of Eddie Van Halen stuff. All that kind of thing. And then, you know, I think that also comes from the flamenco style of guitar. And both styles of music definitely have a lot of flamenco influence. You listen especially to the Dick Dale catalog, he's got a lot of really slow and flamenco type run. All that kind of deal. And, you know, you wouldn't necessarily think of heavy metal songwriting involving much flamenco in terms of the sound of the songs, but definitely the players. I think anyone with that kind of classical influence, like your Randy Rhoads type players, there's definitely all kinds of flamenco influence in there too. And of course, what is the other thing both styles in terms of the guitar work use is a lot of the whammy bar. Whether it's the open chords, you don't hear as much of that in metal in terms of the rhythm work, but definitely, of course, the lead work. Surf rock gets more of an effect used in the rhythm stuff, you know, to give you those. You can see why that works so well for surf rock music, because it makes you think it's an organic kind of a swell, which makes you think of the movement of the ocean, at least in my mind. Basically all the Echo Shores songs that I do, I've found this hybrid guitar sound. So yeah, normally for metal you want humbucking pickups in your guitar, strong amp with a lot of gain in it, and maybe some delay, but definitely not a lot of reverb. So you want a thick sound. Then of course your classic surf rock sound is going to be using a Fender type guitar, single coil pickups, and then Fender style amp, usually clean, pretty clean, with a lot of reverb, not necessarily delay, so of course you're getting a... So for Echo Shores we've got kind of a hybrid sound. I'm using a Fender guitar most of the time, single coil for that sound, and then using a gain setting that's somewhere in between clean and really dense. And then I'm using a lot of reverb and delay, so it gives you a sound more like this. We're going to go through Rough Surf, the first surf rock, surf metal type of composition I've done, and I'll play along with it, and we'll kind of break down how a lot of these little elements that we're talking about are all in here. So it's in E minor. So right there you hear single notes, you know, instead of chords. And right there, chromaticism. And then as you get to the next part, what's that right there? You can tell we're in the harmonic scale, harmonic minor scale. Even the lead there, harmonic minor, and that part is using chromaticism, so it's all following that same trend here. Obviously a lot of tremolo picking or fan picking, whatever you want to call it. That kind of thing. there. I mean, that sounds like it's right out of an Iron Maiden song, right? When you listen to the galloping drum beat, and especially those single note run. But you put that on a Fender guitar with all that reverb, and it sounds like you're in pipeline territory, surf rock style, doesn't it? You know. Then there's of course the key change. Then it changes again for the lead. The story isn't so much about a debate of whether the song Rough Surf is surf rock or metal. The point is that a guy who mainly writes heavy metal type songs was able to write something in a different genre. So I guess effortlessly, because the styles share so much in common. And so you might surprise yourself if you write songs, try writing something in a slightly different genre. You might be surprised that because of the symmetry between styles, you might be more versatile than you think. So have fun with it.